Hello. Today's video, I'll be focusing on column concept and what X-rays and CT can give us information regarding management of a acetabular fracture patient. Hello all, I'm Dr. Aditya Kekatpure. I'm an orthopedic surgeon practicing in Nagpur, and I specialize in management of pelvic injuries and complex trauma. So let us go ahead. So what basically to evaluate whenever we get a fracture acetabulum patient. So as Letternell has developed the concept of column, which is widely used throughout the world now also, there are two columns that basically we are interested in management of acetabular injuries. So there is an anterior column which is highlighted in the blue color. You can see it is extending right behind the anterior superior iliac spine, and it goes all the way up to the uh, midsection of the this thing inferior pubic ramus. So this is completely the anterior column. Okay, and then there is a posterior column which is highlighted in the yellow color, uh, which so it is basically a inverted y-shaped appearance of the column. So, what X-rays are routinely done whenever we get a suspected case of column fracture? One has to take a AP view, a obturator view, and an iliac view to give an idea, and it will give one the complete spectrum of injuries that are there. So, basically, there are cortical lines and landmarks that Letternell has described, which are essential in the assessment of acetabular trauma patient. So the cortical edges of the anterior and posterior wall, the iliopectineal line, it is basically a dense line representing the pelvic brain, and the superior pubic ramus. There is a ilioischial line, the dense line representing the pelvic brain and the quadrilateral plate, the acetabular dome, and acetabular teardrop. So let us go through each of them sequentially. So what we look for in AP view is basically a iliopectineal line. Now you can see there is the iliopectineal line is is commonly injured in an anterior column fracture. The ilioischial line will be injured in the posterior column fracture. Then there is a teardrop, then acetabular dome injuries, and anterior and posterior wall lines. Okay, so let us go. What is acetabular roof line? It represents involvement of the superior weight bearing area, but it does not define the extent of injury. The clearance of the teardrop figure basically indicates whether the quadrilateral plate is involved or not. Then medial roof arc angle, we have also published an article regarding that. So it basically is used whenever we are planning conservative management in the management of acetabular injuries. So what it denotes is that the available uh, whether the acetabular dome is involved or not. So it is basically a line drawn between a vertical line through the center of the femoral head, and another line is drawn from the center of femoral head to the first medial fracture line. So if the roof arc angle in all the three views, that is anteroposterior, obturator, and iliac view, it is if it is more than 45 degrees, one can think of conservative management. So then, why does one require Judate views in while taking X-rays? So this image gives a beautiful example. What happened? What is the thing is that basically there is a perpendicular orientation of the iliac fossa and the obturator foramen. So they are oriented at 90 degree to each other. So to get a complete profile of that, we have to take an iliac view and an obturator view to give us idea regarding the anterior column and the posterior column respectively. So now this image shows us the posterior column. The posterior column is highlighted in orange color, and this is seen in the iliac view. So what we see in iliac view is a good orientation of the posterior column. We can see the anterior wall, and we can see the complete extent of the iliac wing. Why do we need a obturator view? What idea will we get from a obturator view? We will get an idea regarding the anterior column, the posterior wall, the obturator foramen, and the ischiopubic ramus. Okay, so this is obturator view. Then what idea will we get from CT scan? Now CT scans are very useful in the initial investigatory part of the acetabulum fracture, in that sense, because it gives us a complete orientation and defining of the fracture fragment. So now this is axial scan at the level of dome. You can see there is an anterior and posterior part, and there is a medial and lateral part. So the axial CT allows safe differentiation of certain associated fractures. Now, on the top left hand corner, you can see there is a transverse fracture. So when we can say there is a transverse fracture, whenever there is a uh, what to say, a fracture line, vertical fracture line going through the dome, we call it as a transverse fracture. When do we call a column fracture? When there is an oblique line going through either the anterior or posterior column, that you can see on the bottom top right corner. When do we call wall fracture? Whenever there is a fracture line going through walls, it can be through the anterior wall or can be posterior wall, and then there is a multifragmentary posterior wall fracture. So this axial cut is essential whenever we have to classify acetabular fractures. So that's all for today. I'll be going in more details of this in my subsequent videos. Till then, if you have any queries regarding acetabular fracture management and how to classify them, I'll make couple of more videos regarding that. I'll be happy to assist you in any clarifying any doubts regarding this injury pattern. You can post that in the chat box below. Chat box below. Thank you. Thanks a lot.